Okay, I'm going to try to put this in a nutshell. I've noticed in my videos as I've played certain clips, because they're keeping me from playing back my videos to enforce the idea that I am homosexual or something. Obviously this leads to hating gays, whether I do or not. I'm not going to explore in this video. Okay, but certainly the expected response is despising the LGBT community and not sort of embracing them or trying to be like them or trying to fit in with them. Obviously I have no intention of teaming up with them, nor do I have any intention of bending over for them as some lesser men have done in order to find acceptance in this society. So in this video I'm going to tackle the controversial issue of racial supremacy. First, let us define racist, superior, better, quality, destiny, and fate in terms of their wordplay. Racist, okay? Sick or, right? The T is the feminine suffix, okay? And we look back at the AR, right? Or, okay? The interchangeable vowels, vow to L. Now it pisses me off to know that they have drugged me in a way to reduce my testosterone to make me sound gay when I did not sound like this before, whether they take down my old videos or not. Ra, see, eyes, as, a's, e's, o's. Basically, Western culture, all other non-African cultures are variations of homosexual cultures. Examine them very carefully. Examine the gay mannerisms. Examine the prevalence of homosexuality as opposed to attitudes opposed to homosexuality. Obviously, if you come from a place with a long history of homosexuality, okay, the attitudes of the people there are more friendly toward homosexuality. Examine the testosterone rates before they're adjusted by people trying to save face. Do black people own the media? Do they own the science departments? Are these old school and old money type people black people? Or are they white, Jew, Asian, and token minorities, etc.? So when we look at Ra, see, eyes, so, see, or see, your. Okay? Your in terms of your race, or see what you are. Okay? Suck or seek your. Right? And this has to do with homosexual activities and also sexual activities in general. So what do we see here? If somebody sees things in terms of raw, they're going to see things in terms of ethnicity, families, lineage, and reproductive cycles. So one can oversimplify it and say that the followers of Ra, the Igbos, the leopard society, remember the leopard is a sub-Saharan African animal and an Asian animal, and it's preposterous to think that Asians, the Egyptians were Asians, right? Alone. It's stupid. They were Afro-Asiatic, if anything, were more accurately described as black people civilizing the other races that happened to be there at the time. Okay, so we look at the word sick, right? You're sick if you don't see it that way. How stupid would you be, right? You're delusional if you don't see it that way. We see the evidence in the Igbos performing well, compared to other races in the UK and America, right? This is not just a phenomenon happening in America, but also in the UK and other sub-Saharan Africans, which is where the leopard society and the leopards roam. The Igbos are the bell that rings the loudest. The wordplay also points to that as well. Obeisance, obial ask, observe, obverse, right? The principal design, obligation, and so on. This brings us to the term superior, which has the word supper, I-or. Who's shaped like what and why? Obviously, some black people embrace Western norms, gym norms, of bodybuilding, and they take on shapes that are similar to white people with a more athletic, in an African sort of manner, type of shape than the white person has, who is more of a kind of lumberjack, kind of Paul Bunyan, kind of corn husky, fed white guy on a football line or something. Okay, we all see it this way. I'll leave that there. Then we have the C, peer, poor, or poor people, right? I, or. We also have the rear A, pass, or rear up eyes. We also have raw I, rape, as, eyes, e's, a's, etc. Okay, this goes back to human trafficking, which was really human ray fucking when you really break down the wordplay and you realize that if a woman falls for this. She doesn't have the spirit of Ra, which is this masculine doing the right thing, which couldn't possibly mean conformity in an evil system, right? It's more like a samurai, if anything, for lack of a better example that is commonly understood in popular culture. Fighting to the death is the spirit of Ra. Not being a house nigga saying maybe somewhere down the line like a good little bitch. That is not Ra. That is not the spirit of God. You could not possibly have it. Even in Western culture, it is acknowledged as such. That's why you have a Martin Luther King Day. This guy died for what he believed instead of conformity, which is the idea of, again, I don't truly accept him as truly a man of God, but approaching it. Okay, and that goes back to what is superior, which also goes back to rear up eyes, right? Up, right? The sky god, Shu, Haru, Horus, Ra connection. This goes back to Ra eye rape. Okay? Obviously, they're raping these people. Okay? Now this leads us to the word better, right? Who is bitter? Who is a bitter Miss Butterchrome? Who's a bitter English, slamming on the his gavel on the thing? Who's bitter? Who's rich and bitter and deals in propaganda and lies? That also goes back to batter. Who wants you to see things in terms of baseball, American culture, right? What is more of an American sport than baseball? Okay. Also goes back to butter, right? Who butters your bread? It also goes back to butt, right? Why do they want women to show their booties and their pictures and so on, right? And how is it relative to their bodies? And there's a big push to make black women have these huge butts, to get fat women to kind of lose weight, have these huge black asses that are ridiculously large, that lose sex appeal, especially when you compare them to swimsuit models, historically, and those women who pose by cars in car magazines, okay? And lingerie models and so on, runway models and so on and so forth, right? They're playing themselves out. They're saying your butts are too big. Look at these rich kind of white females and so on. Their butts are perfectly sized, right? So it's better and setting the stage. It goes back to sabotage. It goes back to backwards ego, ob-as, ego, ob-as, age, ob-as, and e-gay, OBEs, right? Sabotage him by making him seem gay. Let's look at the word backwards. E-G-A, the T is the feminine suffix, O-B, E's, right? Make Obi seem gay. Make someone like me seem gay. It's right there in the wordplay for the word sabotage, whether you can read my writing or not. Okay, so again, this is part of why I have to speak this way in this video, because they have drugged me in a way that reduces my testosterone, which makes me sound a certain way. You ever notice how a lot of gays seem kind of passive and non-aggressive, right? This certainly reflects something to do with physiology and chemistry. It might not be exactly testosterone alone. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But certainly has something to do with physiology. And certainly one possible way to achieve this is reducing testosterone and manipulating the, mentation, cognition, brain function, and neurological processes of the brain, which has everything to do with the neocortex, the cortex in general, hippocampus, amygdala, striatum, cerebellum, thalamus, gray matter focusing on tasks, white matter, networking gray that connects gray matters and other processing centers. Okay. So this leads us to Ba-Tir. The martyr, right, of the Norse mythology. And also right obi, or also rot obi, right? Bet your soul, or life in parentheses, right? Bet your, right? And bet you are. Remember the better wordplay. Right to be. All these things refer to who's better from a demonic perspective, or accepting the martial arts order where Pharaoh is the man obi in Igbo culture, or the Ba, the soul that is associated with the body, with the mind, body, soul connection. And I'll go ahead and end this video with a bunch of articles that prove my point, and I have many others similar to it, going back to 2009, going back to early 2000s, of all kinds of Igbo kind of statistics. Okay, again, having this kind of gay kind of face and not being outspoken is not. You're not in the running for the, a real man cannot conform to Western culture and not speak out as uncontrolled opposition, not kissing ass to the right, left, or middle, etc. Uncontrolled. Not as the church's little bitch boy. Uncontrolled. Okay? So we go back to quality. Key, right? K-E, K-I, Q-U-I, all I to Y. Quell at E and Ka-A light Y. Also it goes to, you can add the word E for equality, right? E, evil, quality. To them, a quality person insists on equality, which goes back to the word racism in the first place. Do you really think that every group of people evolved, generally speaking, to achieve the same degree of proficiency? Do you think the best of every culture is equal? Is the lion equal to the leopard? Is it equal to the snail? Is it equal to this? Do things start to go in different directions as people eat different food, are in different lifestyles? Some people were in martial arts lifestyles that hone their senses and their thought processes in that specific way. Some people took on, let's sit around and let's study wordplay. Let's kind of study these things from a different perspective. So you had scribes, you have different people with different trades and crafts and different families, and they spread out. Are they all equal? No. It's right there in the word E. As soon as you have the word E and it's emphasized, equal, right? To E, the quell, the true order. And it goes back to the jackal, right? To jack all, because Pan is a very great embodiment of being E, equal, right? Pan means all the deities in the pantheon, all the deities of Greco-Roman mythology, all the quote-unquote gods. So no, equality does not exist, and it only exists for the followers of Set, whose features, ironically, are similar to mine in this state, where it's, there's sort of like this jackal look with a certain ears that stick out a certain way. They basically look like elves or Jews and variations of that, and it's part of the greater genome of the Jewish people. It found its way all the way to Northern Europe. It's found its way to West Africa. It's hard to tell pinpoint where this thing started. The more logical starting point is Ethiopia or something to that effect. All right. So when we look at this thing, right, also Ka-A light Y. Y is the spirit of the A. Ah, ha, ah, I see. Why is that the light? Well, it's also right there in the wordplay as well. It's just, I just demonstrated. Whore, aha, meaning fighter. Oh, that's the person that's superior. It also goes back to the wordplay of faith. Faith, fit, foe at, okay, eye of, okay, fat and feet. Feet. Well, let's look at the Narmer palette. Whose feet do they have? An African-like feet. Look at European feet. Look at white people's feet to this day. Look at kind of long, elongated, black African feet. And how does that pertain to skywalking? Okay, body structure and general instruction and so on. This also goes back to destiny. Days on I. Backwards. Why not sad or said? Why isn't this said? Why aren't people sad? And it goes back to days in E. And also goes back to psychology and drugging and toxicology and toxic, all these drugs that were, forced on people. Drug E, right, with an E. It goes back to fate, which is fatty, right? Fit, fat, fought, E. Okay. So basically, we live in a society full of bitches that will never concede my point. The people who seem more athletic from families, from royal families, who seem smarter, do not have the heart to rise uncontrolled. And this is why Igbo's cult center did not get along with these other royal families. They were acting like good bitches, serving the trade route E-Bert bitches, and the bowls that they used as muscle to cover the light. Think the typical organized crime. You have like this kind of Joe Pesci with big bodyguards kind of thing, right? One of them's like this E-Bert snitty, like, yeah, I'm like a bookie. I'm a bookie. I'm an E. I'm a bitch, right? And some of them's a big muscle. You owe money, right? I'm like the house nigga and the overseer. I'm a house nigga. I'm an overseer, no. I'm an overseer. And who were against them? The books I always cite, it's right here in the books, right? The Manti or whatever, the Ghanaian tribes, the Igbo tribes, Angolans, the guys who fought for honor against these E-Berts and the overseers that are all but gone. Okay, so is racism a valid concept? Only when you deal with mistruths. Yes, Ari is superior.